Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Regal Live series. Regal Live series is a weekly live series that aims to enable coaches to build a prosperous coaching business by becoming the best coaches that they can be. Regal Unlimited is a leadership development company that has over a decade of excellence in disrupting leadership development through coaching and coach training. In this edition of the Regal Live series, we have Mr. Subash with us. Mr. Subash, the founder CEO of Regal Unlimited, as an executive coach for the last decade, has helped leaders scale up their leadership quotient and has aided them to assume the roles of their dreams and lead happy lives. Our most asked question since the last live is the topic of discussion for today: the art of setting goals. One of the biggest myths about coaching is that it is a feel good business. To break them and take us from the science to the art of setting goals, over to you, Mr. Subash.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from God's own country. I'm logging in from Kerala. It's a pleasure to connect with all listeners, viewers, live, and those who are going to watch, the recorded version. Goal is at the core of, starting a coaching conversation, an ongoing engagement, or starting a new engagement. So typically, the client comes to a coach with a symptom, right? Usually the problem statement, whether it is an issue or a problem or an opportunity, it's usually a symptom the way the client sees it. The coach has a responsibility to go beyond that. What is behind the goal, and how the client can be supported to look beyond. And it is usually aligned with the larger potential of the client. Yeah, so we don't lose sight of it's not the coach's need to look at the potential, go behind the goal, but it's about supporting the client to achieve the larger objective and thus move the client towards the potential. That's the opening remarks.
So, thank you for those opening remarks. Among the ICF coaching competencies, CC-3 speaks specifically about goals. So, you spoke about the goal among goals. So, the goal among goals along with CC-3, how do they tie in together?
Yeah, great question. So, for those who are not familiar with the ICF framework, ICF, or International Coaching Federation, is the gold standard in coaching, and Regal Unlimited is one of those institutes which are approved to run programs for ICF. ICF has a framework which consists of 8 competencies, coaching competencies. So number 1 is ethics. That shows how important ethics is. Number 2 is mindset, as big, because we are talking about embodying the coaching mindset. A topic for maybe a future session. The number 3, as Andrew said, CC-3, coaching competency number 3, is about setting goals. ICF has done a lot of intense research. Every comma and full stop is kind of looked at and debated, researched before they come up with the competency framework. It's like it's a crisp version of how the structure can be, and it has evolved from a competency of 11 to 8 now. CC-3, it has got 4 sub-competencies. Quickly to share what it is, a refresher for fellow coaches here. The number 1 is what you want to accomplish in the session, and also reconfirm what you want to accomplish in the session. So those are the 2 elements of the 3.1. Now, the answer to Andrew's question is, how deep are you going in terms of 3.1? Very often we just ask the client, what do you want to accomplish, or what do you want to achieve, or what do you want to discuss? Typically, the client offers the symptom. Now, if you just stay with the symptoms, then you're not going deeper as a coach. So 3.1 is the foundation within CC-3. Quickly, the other 3 competencies are, what is the measure of success? Okay, you want to accomplish CC 3.1 at a deeper level. How would you know that you have accomplished in this session? Yeah, I want to lose weight. You don't lose weight in the session, in that one. So what do you want to accomplish in the session? What makes it important to walk away with that outcome? That is CC 3.3. 3.4 is the organic discussion on 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3, which is what you want to accomplish and reconfirm, the measure of success, and what makes it important. The way I explain this is, by the time you come to 3.4, is what is it that you need to resolve, what you need to address. The metaphor is, for me, initially the client holds the mirror against the world. By 3.4, the mirror should shift within. Because we are looking at only what is within the control of the client, not what is not under the control. Yeah. So remember this metaphor. It should organically evolve. You are not saying what is in your control. That is objective, but the client should realize what is it that I need to address that is within my control. So that's the beautiful structure of setting a goal in a coaching conversation. Over to you, Andrew.
So, Mr. Subash, you mentioned that if you stay with the symptom, you're not going deep enough in 3.1.
Yes.
So, what are a few questions that as a coach we can ask so that we move from coaching the problem to coaching the person?
Just an example, like, when we do practice sessions, role plays, and demos, there are some topics that come very often. One of them is I want to lose weight, and we have a famous story which you're familiar. And another is I want to to get a promotion or move to that next role 1 year, 2 years. So there is something about the professional growth. And the third one, very important, is I want to kind of fix a relationship. That's where they start. That's a symptom. Now, fixing a relationship can potentially evolve to heal a relationship, right? Getting a promotion could be, what does career mean to you? So getting a promotion, I want to become the CEO in 5 years is a goal that I've heard from more than one client. I want to become a CEO. No, they're at the one level below. I want to become the CEO. And sometimes the CEO is the founder CEO. So you're going to kind of, find a replacement for the founder CEO. So an organic evolution of that CC 3.1 of becoming a CEO in 5 years, a very good, smart, audacious goal, can be, what does career mean to you? Just an example. Somebody wanting to lose weight. Of course, one way of looking at it is, as Sir John Whitmore says famously, all goals can ideally be positively stated. So where is the question of losing something? Yeah, so it becomes gaining wellness or any synonyms thereof. Then what does it take you to gain that wellness, for example? And what does health mean to you? What does health and wellness mean to you? So these are the examples that goes. So each one of them, when that person sits on the hot seat and is reflecting, it becomes a very deep exploration of the goal itself. So that's why, in the ICF framework, especially at PCC, MCC, if there is no good 3.1, there is no coaching conversation. Effective.
So that's how important it becomes. 3.1 sets the tone for the entire conversation.
Yes.
So if I may summarize a couple of things that you can do to take it deeper is, number one, add the word you. What does it mean to you? What is it for you? Make it about the person. And one more thing you would suggest it is positively state the goal.
Yeah.
Now, if I may just stay with that question that you mentioned, losing weight. Now, losing weight on the face of it seems negative, but it has a very positive connotative meaning.
The outcome.
What makes it so important that if the outcome is positive, even the goal that we are mentioning should be positive?
So we are just off. If the client says, no, I just want to discuss with you, I want to lose 5 kilos in 3 months, or we are in November and by 1/1/24, I want to lose 5 more kilos. I'm 65, I want to be 60. If the client stays with that, it's perfectly fine. But the exploration of 3.1 should also look at what are the nuances of losing weight, right? And it's also looking at, again, at the cost of repetition, where is the need to lose anything? So what would gaining something, what would be the gaining? What would you gain by losing weight, right? And of course, as you know, visualization is a tool that we look at a later stage of the conversation. So when the client is able to visualize that, a positively stated goal can help the client go deeper. And there are a couple of other tools in a classic coaching, like what if questions. It's a lot more easier to handle that if it's a positively stated goal. Otherwise, it becomes slightly confusing in terms of the structure. So positively stated, for example, losing weight may not be the right example for that. I've had a very talented CXO who was being groomed, a European company was being groomed for the next level, CEO India. And absolutely brilliant leader. But just in the chemistry session, where we bring in these elements just for the client to get a feel of how a coaching session looks like. At the end of the session is that one thing also comes up for me is while the company wants me to take over, I still want to step back and look at it. Is it worth getting the CEO role and all the stress and pressure out of it? Of course, he was young, so perhaps I feel he had the luxury of looking at that way. Maybe I should wait for some more time. Yeah. So we have had in the coaching session somebody saying that no, I don't want to become a CEO. I don't. My favorite example, my mentees are all familiar. One of my coaches whom we are mentoring, he had a client who wanted to lose weight. She felt she was not attractive enough after some 10 years of marriage. It was just in her mind, no trigger from her husband. The end of the session, the outcome was that I'm fine, I'm good. For me, that's a fabulous space to be. From there, whatever she does would be very empowering. So those are the examples or the elements of positivity of the goal. I hope I'm not confusing the audience, but just an alternate point of view.
Yeah. To all our viewers and listeners, please do feel free to pose questions. I will be going through them, and in the last 5 minutes, I'll raise them in front of Mr. Subash. So you mentioned about in one of the classes, I'm taking the liberty to mention that if you have done CC 3.1 well, then CC 3.2 will be easy.
Yes.
What makes you say that?
Yeah. So what happens is, what do you want to accomplish in this session? So if the example is staying with it, I want to get a promotion in 5 years or 3 years. Okay. That's a good goal. That's a very smart goal, SMART goal. So then if you just move into what is the measure of success for this session, then it's a very shallow conversation. And it is easy to do that. To hold the space for 3.1, every question we say that it should take the client forward. The conversation should go deeper. So that, you just stay with 3.1 and say that, the why, without using the word, as we all know, we don't use the word why in a classic coaching conversation. So why the client wants to get that promotion? And, it could be for different reasons for different people. So just staying with that 3.1 and every question taking the client forward. Don't allow the client to repeat or beat around the bush, going in circle. Absolutely not acceptable in any coaching session. The client has to keep moving forward. And that will only happen if the client is in a reflective space. Yes. Only then you can, by the time you do a good 3.1, for me, this from me, that people ask, when should I stop 3.1? Will the client just get reflected? So I said, just trust your intuition. You will know when to pause. Yeah. Of course, initial stage, it's okay to look at the clock when you're practicing. But later, you should know that, you should feel, okay, this is the right time to reconfirm and move to 3.2. It's a fabulous process. Because only if you do a good, decent 3.1, you will get a useful 3.2. And the client does not pay us in terms of time, energy, or money for the conversation to just look at the symptom or what the client is defining as the goal. The client pays us with time and energy to go deeper, to look at the areas, to remove the blinkers, as Marshall Goldsmith famously says, because you have to remove the blinkers. So for that, a deep 3.1 would be very helpful.
I think that's a brilliant point you made, that the client doesn't pay us to look at the symptoms. He or she pays us to look at the root cause.
Yes.
You have brought this 2-3 times in this live about reconfirming and re-anchoring. How important is this small actionable item in a coaching conversation?
Very, very important. Very good question. See, when you ask 3.1 and you follow it up with 2-3 exploratory question, it just opens up a different world for the client. Yeah. And what we see is just the tip of the iceberg. What the client is sharing is just tip of the iceberg. The coach has no clue what is processing in the client's head. So to that extent, when you have triggered multiple things, there's so much you can achieve in an hour or a 1.5 hours. This is typically the duration of which is healthy for the client. You can do a 3-hour session, 4-hour session, but there'll be fatigue for both coach and the client. So when you have created multiple dots, it's good to ask the client, okay, what do you want to accomplish in this session? Because you're talking about promotion, you're talking about the corporate culture, the policy, a toxic boss or a HR policy or the industry. There will be multiple things that comes up. Okay, having discussed all this, what do you just reconfirm what you want to accomplish today? And it just kind of anchors the client to look at something very specific. Now, that point at the end, we ask, you raise multiple things. How are they linked? If the conversation is deep and good, it's about the coachee. It's not about the problem at all. It's the who of the client. Naturally, everything gets covered. Most of it. Yeah. So the coach should be confident enough to reconfirm, pick up one stream that is relevant for the client. Just go deeper in the process. Trust the process that other things would automatically get covered, and the client would clarity at a holistic level, at the who level. Yeah.
So to clarify, some of the things that will help us go beyond just setting goals to the art of setting goals be: 1, trust your intuition.
Yes.
2, I found it is a brilliant point where you said you mentioned that it's a conversation. So I think just by being present and trusting the process and the intuition, yes, you do go beyond just the process.
Right? And CC-2, coaching mindset, dives deep into intuition. Intuition is part of the competency. Yes.
So now we have 3 minutes left for this live. So I'll open up to questions. The first question I have is based on discussion with a few of our coaches and a few of our learner coaches. Very often, even when we stick to the process, we say that we hit a dead end. Then how do we move past that? We feel that we have hit, or there's no breakthrough that's happening.
Frankly, if you start with a good 3.1, if there is decent chemistry, the trust with the client, you rarely hit a wall. Yeah, because the client brings a topic which is important for the client. You go deeper, which kind of just opens up a new paradigm. So usually you won't hit if you follow the process. If you still hit the process, it's one possible way is to ask the client, we seem to hit a wall. Where do you think we want to go? Or even asking the client, how are we progressing so far in the conversation? Ask the client, let the client know. So the first one is being open and vulnerable to the client. Second is about asking the client. Because very often what we see as a wall may not be a wall for the client. Even when the client says, I don't know. So that possibility we cannot ignore.
It's brilliant that you mentioned that it can be an assumption. That we as a coach feel that the client we have hit the wall.
And that is a manifestation of performance pressure, that assumption. Right? Thanks, Nirmal. Good to see that. Yeah. So childlike curiosity is integral to this process.
I'll just read out the question for the benefit of the viewers and the listeners. Subash, I have created childlike curiosity while asking questions, but how to come out of 3.1 if your curiosity still exists even after spending enough time on 3.1?
So, if curiosity still exists, is the coach's curiosity. Flip it to the client. It's about client. You're just curious to open the possibility. So my answer is still trust your intuition. Or, initial stages of practice and learning journey, I hate to give a number, but give 10, 12 minutes and see where it goes. Then ask the client, reconfirm that point, reconfirm the goal. Where do you want to go today in this session? Usually it will work. Yeah. Thanks for that, Nirmal.
Thank you, Nirmal, for the question. I have one last quick closing remark based on a question for you, and then we'll wrap up as we have hit 20 minutes. In 1 hour coaching conversation, I know for a fact that you mentioned a structure, some sort of timestamps that we can follow with respect to CC-3. Would you share it with the audience? If it's a 1 hour conversation, how long should you spend on CC-3?
I've heard from my mentors, esteemed mentors, and I subscribe to that. Some say 40% of the time. Some say 50% is also good. So 40 to 50% is a sweet spot for me. If it goes, building on Nirmal's question, this entire CC-3 even goes 60% of the time, if the exploration is going deep, a lot of elements that goes into the stage 2 of the conversation, that is a deep exploration stage after goal setting, would get covered there. You can actually spend less time on exploration and action. So 40 to 50 is my sweet spot. Even 50 plus up to 60 also not a bad idea to put a number. Yes.
So thank you, Mr. Subash, for joining this live. If I may request you quickly, 20-30 seconds, any closing remarks for the audience?
Yeah. I mean, my friends will laugh at this because we didn't cover this. Set only audacious goals. The client doesn't pay us for small goals, transactional goals. Set transformational goals, audacious goals. 𝗵𝗃 that Jim Collins says of, and create that impact for the client. Thank you.
And if I may add to what you mentioned is, along with set audacious goals, the book, The Coactive Coaching, the authors say you must believe in the client even when they do not believe in themselves. Absolutely. So I think as coaches, we have the responsibility to demonstrate,
yes,
not only just have, but demonstrate that we believe in the client.
Absolutely.
Thank you, viewers. Thank you, listeners. And because we don't know which platform you may find us on, but we are glad that you're part of our live today. See you next Thursday from 9 to 9:20 p.m. We have Mr. 𝗤𝗂 for that event. Looking forward to seeing you all there. Thank you, Mr. Subash, for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andrew. Bye-bye.